Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. Today we're going to talk about NXT from September 26th, 2023. NXT remains the best wrestling show on television. Even the people I kind of don't like are still doing good stuff on this show. They found out about the Mustafa Ali thing, were not very happy, but they bounced back even better and found a way to weave it into their storylines as if almost seamlessly. And now we've actually got a far more interesting match to me to discuss for No Mercy. So we're going to talk about all the things NXT on this show, and we're going to talk about the NXT No Mercy predictions. We're going to do that too. You ready? Let's get it started with that boring tournament. Joe Coffey is defeated by Butch in the Heritage Cup final with the bitter end. The only thing about this match that was entertaining was Booker T making a mistake and calling Joe Coffey Joe Gacy. He got a little excited. That was the best thing about this match to me. I've hated this tournament for a while now. I'm glad it's over. It's now officially over. Like it was over last week. They only had one more match left. Now there's no more matches left. Now we got to get through that Heritage Cup match itself, which will be Butch versus Noam Dar. We'll talk about it later. I'm just glad this is over. Next, we got Dominic Mysterio, who says that he's finally done with Dragon Lee, and that he's going to have himself a free Saturday with Mommy. They're going to sit on a big comfy couch and eat chicken tendies. How do you say chicken tendies in Spanish? What's chicken in Spanish? I don't know. I could have made it something up, but I don't want to. Anyway, nope, won't happen. There's going to be a triple threat match tonight, and the winner of that triple threat match will wrestle Dominic Mysterio at No Mercy. Dominic Mysterio is upset by this, confounded by this, doesn't believe that this is actually going to happen. So he goes out to try to complain to Shawn Michaels. While he's doing that, Trick Williams defeated Joe Gacy in a match. The match itself was kind of it was okay, I guess. I really don't care about this match at all, period. But the crowd's energy for Trick Williams, singing Whoop That Trick along with his song, and Booker T was there hyping it up. It was magic. It made Trick Williams feel like he was one of the biggest stars on the planet. Go out of your way to just watch that entrance, Just watch that entrance. It made him feel so much bigger than it really was. So, Trick Williams wins with a knee strike. It looked like a shoot knee strike. It was pretty ugly. After the match, Trick Williams got on the microphone, said he ambidextrous, he whip ass with both hands. Then he said he didn't really want to talk about Carmelo Hayes after he was asked about whether Carmelo or Ilya Dragunov was going to win. He said he didn't want to talk about that man. He got the biggest one of his career. Then he says that he'll be a fool to bet against him, who is his buddy, Carmelo Hayes. He's not going to bet against Carmelo. Then he says that Carmelo got his championship. It's time for him to go and get his own. So he goes to Shawn Michaels' office a little bit later. And then he goes over to Tyler Bate and Axiom, two boring European guys. And he informs them that tonight's triple threat match, it is a fatal four-way match. So later, the main event of the evening, Trick Williams versus Dragon Lee versus Axiom versus Tyler Bate. The winner will be the number one contender for the North American title. The match was crazy. It was, people all over the place, kind of nutty. And Trick Williams wins the match in a sort of, I don't want to say it was kind of fluky, but it was also kind of fluky. When some really good spots in here. Trick Williams did the double rock bottom with Booker T called the double bookend, which triggered in my brain how Vince Russo just went to WCW and tried to do everything that he did in WWE all over again. Like he came up with the Misfits in Action, which was a ripoff of DX, which includes Major Guns, the girl with the big titties, and how he tried to create a heel in America, but a babyface in Canada thing with Lance Storm and all the various gimmicks he tried to pull. Like he could just, it worked once. I'll just do it again. I did this a year and a half ago. Like, and Booker T's all of a sudden doing the bookend as a finish. Yeah. Never mind. But Trick Williams wins the match. The crowd erupts for this. It was absolutely the right decision. Trick Williams is riding high. Earlier in the night, he was very excited. Tried to talk to Carmelo Hayes, but Carmelo Hayes was too busy. He said he had to get locked in for this contract signing with Ilya Dragunov. So he was kind of ignoring Trick Williams as Trick Williams was trying to celebrate with him. And then all of a sudden, Trick Williams feeling like, he's like, what am I on mute? He was like, no. And they dapped up. And then after this match, after he became the number one contender, Carmelo Hayes was a little bit more into it. Said they both of them going to walk out champions. Trick Mello gang. So this is really good here. So following this, Dominic Mysterio says he's going to whoop that Trick. And he's going to dominate and destroy Trick Williams just like he did to Dragon Lee. Then Dragon Lee attacked him from behind. And so now Trick Williams versus Dominic Mysterio has a special guest referee, Dragon Lee. And that's the element of it I don't like. I don't like that element. I don't like that addition. I don't think it's necessary. Trick Williams is, of course, the right opponent. He's over. He can talk. His wrestling ability will come along if you give him enough time. It's just he's the right guy in the right situation. We'll talk about whether he should win or not later. But as for putting him in the spot, absolutely. Dragon Lee already lost. So why put him in that spot? Axiom is boring, and Tyler Bate is boring. And you don't do boring. We don't put boring on a pedestal here. So to hell with boring, guys. So Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes, they're having their thing. And it's interesting because there's a lot of slights going on. Trick Williams, being ignored by Carmelo Hayes as he's trying to quote unquote lock in. But the biggest cut would come later during the conversation between Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov. Now, they were doing a contract signing to make their match official at No Mercy. At one point, Carmelo Hayes starts saying to Ilya Dragunov that he is not all of the people Dragunov has beaten. He's not Wesley. He's not Oro Mensah. He's not Trick Williams. He said, ooh. And he just, he caught himself. The crowd heard it. Everybody heard it, but he caught himself. He was basically saying that he's on a different level. He's not like those guys. And everybody was like, is he shit talking Trick? Oh, man. So now they leave you with that Trick, that cliffhanger. There's a lot of argumentation between Mello and Ilya Dragunov. Not much of it had too much substance other than, is Carmelo Hayes ready to shoot his shot and miss? While Carmelo Hayes thinks that, while Ilya Dragunov might make a really good champion, he certainly can't do it better than him. So, the conversation was what it was. I think it was a little long probably, but it was fine. The important bit is that Carmelo Hayes had made sort of a snide comment about Trick Williams. So we're going to see, hopefully at No Mercy, that they have a conversation about this. That, especially after, each one of them have their match. And maybe they flip the script and Carmelo loses and Trick wins. Maybe. We'll see. But I like that they're keeping that tension there. It's working out very well. All right, next, we got Tony D'Angelo. He was hosting a dinner. And this dinner invited all of the tag teams. Let's just skip straight through this because there was several segments. So Angel and Umberto showed up. They weren't there to eat. They wanted to know if they were going to wrestle for the tag team titles. Tony D'Angelo wanted to know why they had saber-tooth tiger claws on their chest. They thought he was mocking their grandfather, which, they weren't. They were just being ignorant. Then the Creed brothers showed up. They're still playing their dumb jocks gimmick, especially the big one. Now all of a sudden he's obsessed with food and all kinds of stuff like this. I don't really like that. but they're trying to add some personality to the Creeds. Just wish it wasn't a kind of stereotypical personality. Then Bronco Nima and Lucien Price showed up. They threatened to tear up the place if they didn't get a title match. And then Tony D'Angelo had to bring out the goons. I mean, he brought out the graybeards. You know, like people who had been through some... They done went to the mattresses more than once. The graybeards then came out. You know, then some people who are experienced in the mattresses. At that point, Nima and Price they chilled out. So ultimately, it led to a fatal 4-way match that will have at No Mercy. Nobody explained how Tony D'Angelo and Stax had the ability to pick their own opponents. They just do. And we just kind of going along with it. Okie dokie. You know, like they could pick their own opponents and then they pick themselves in a fatal 4-way. Very bizarre. But this was quite a few segments on the show. It was okay, I guess. It wasn't offensive or anything. It was just kind of there to fill the gaps. Blair Davenport, she had a promo. She says that when she attacks people from behind, they don't get back up. And since Gigi Dolan is trying to do what she do, which is have her vicious intent, she wants Gigi Dolan to keep an eye out for what she's going to do tonight. So then she attacked Gigi Dolan in the locker room while Gigi Dolan was working out with a resistance band. She turned the lights out, beat the tar out of her, turned the lights back on, and then that was it. They were supposed to have a match tonight, but that match was canceled because Gigi Dolan is not medically cleared after she got her ass beat. This was very interesting. Blair Davenport being the person who attacks folks from behind, and they kind of put over her killer instinct. That's good. You know, maybe they just ran out of time, so they booked that match, and it was kind of just in case. But I actually like it. I actually like that they didn't have this match now, and they're not going to have it at the pay-per-view. They're probably going to have it next week. So I'm fine with this. A little bit more heat on this match, a little bit more heat on this feud. Blair Davenport said later that the next time she sees Gigi Dolan is actually going to be worse. And I was like, worse than, missing out a paycheck already? Sheesh. All right. Baron Corbin wrestled Josh Briggs and won the match. I definitely could have done without this. I still have no idea what burn the ships mean, and I'm tired of asking. I feel like I need that written down in front of me. Like somebody's got to send it to me in an attachment in an email, so maybe I'll pay attention to it. Because what does burn the ships mean? What does it mean? What is it in reference to? Where are the ships? Whose ships exactly? The Spanish ships? The Dutch ships? The British ships? Whose ships? Portuguese ships? Pilgrim ships? Slave ships? Whose ships? Are they delivering cotton? Are they moving barrels of oil? Are they trafficking sugar? Whose ships? What's on these ships? Why are we burning the ships? Are we pirates? Are we taking the ships over? Is it Pirates of the Caribbean? What's up with the ships? In any event, Josh Briggs sucks. So him losing, good. I can't believe I say that Baron Corbin winning. He sucks too, but we just kind of stuck with this right now. Okay, somebody had to win. Everybody can't. This was a situation where I could have pulled the lever and they both would have fell down a hole. I would have done that, but somebody's got to win, I guess. So after the match, Baron Corbin says that he's going to find out this Saturday whether the little doggy has a bite or whether he's all bark. So Braun Breaker marched out there in an incredibly tight shirt and just decided he was going to steal on Baron Corbin and did so. Then various and sundry officials tried to separate them, and then this thing went on for the rest of the night. Even after the night was over, officially, they were still fighting in the parking lot. This led to Braun Breaker spearing the door of a car, then getting slammed on top of a car, then trying to choke out Baron Corbin, and then they smashed through a wall into Shawn Michaels' office. I mean, thank God he was in there wearing pants. Could you imagine if he was sitting in his office on a Zoom meeting wearing no pants? I mean, at the very least something was going on. So they were just rumbling and the officials and nobody could stop them. Felt really chaotic, but it also felt like it was going on forever. I think they probably had a little too much contact, just a little too much, I think. I think that once Braun speared that door, we were pretty good. We could have saved the going through the wall and all that kind of stuff for the pay-per-view. You know, go ahead and let us think that Braun ain't going to make it because he rammed his head into that door. Anyway, Andre Chase is very, very upset. He wants to know where Thea Hale is. She ain't answering his text messages. When it comes to Duke Hudson, he's only getting emoji responses. They both run into JC Jane in the hallway, and JC Jane introduces them to the new Thea Hale, which is an extremely muscular teenage girl wearing a miniskirt. And I'm saying she's like, she has such big arms and shoulders. It's incredible. It's like Captain America in drag. So JC Jane is like giddy about the new gear. She wants to show off the new gear. So she's wrestling Danny Palmer. Thea Hale was wrestling Danny Palmer. So she comes out originally to the Andre Chase theme. Then JC Jane's like, nope, change the theme song. The theme song that they play is something called Raising Hell, from what it sounds like. The lyrics sound absolutely terrible, by the way. I mean, they absolutely have the laziest, most garbage lyrics possible. But it sounded like it was a reach at recreating Toxic Attraction's theme song. Not exactly the same thing, but sort of in that same vein. Or maybe in the same vein of JC Jane's theme song. But Thea Hale has a new look, and she looks like she's wearing lingerie. I immediately turned into disapproving dad, because I'm like, what is she wearing? You know, like immediately I was like, what is she wearing? This match with Danny Palmer was very fun. Danny Palmer is very fast. She's smooth. She's agile. You know, we got to see a little bit more of Thea Hale here, how she's aggressive now, how they work together. Their chemistry was really good. I particularly liked how they set up the finish, where Danny Palmer did a flippity-doo-dah off the top rope. It looked crazy, but she landed on her feet, rolled back, looked like she was about to do like a head scissor, but it got countered into the Kimura, and then Danny Palmer tapped out. Really fun match, actually. You know, I actually have more fun with these matches than I probably should. You know, because you're watching people who don't have a lot of experience actually grow right in front of you. And that's a very good experience to have. JC Jane continues to mock Chase University as they were watching this. Andre Chase is not approving at all of the new Thea Hale. He didn't like her dress, but he didn't say anything because he's just her teacher. He's not her dad. And he certainly don't like this ring gear. He's not liking this at all. So the patriarchy is about to try to come out of this guy. They're about to dig deep and drag that patriarchy right on out of him. They're going to dangle that patriarchy right in front of them, man. You got to do something. You got to protect his young ward. You know, you got to protect his young ward. I forgot to mention that Bronco Nima and Lucien Price defeated Hank and Tank earlier in the night because I don't think I paid attention to it. I'm just going to be honest. I don't think I paid attention to it. Hank and Tank, who cares? Moving on. Strap match. Eddie Thorpe versus Dijak. Eddie Thorpe was wearing big hoop earrings. He's like a hood rat. What is going on? Who told him to do that? Don't give me none of that. It's my Native American heritage. No. I ain't never seen a male Native American wear big hoop earrings. I ain't never seen it. Not in my lifetime. So, Tatanka didn't wear big hoop earrings. You know, never seen one wear big hoop earrings. So, I don't know, man. Get rid of it, please. Oh, God, it's so off-putting. I don't know how else to say it. It's off-putting. This match was okay. Dijak found Eddie Thorpe's family in the crowd and really started working on them. It was great. The best part is when he whipped Eddie Thorpe right in front of the little girl who was his niece, I believe. She's 6 years old. She was so upset. And she was, virtually in tears because her uncle was getting a beating right in front of her. Eddie Thorpe ended up winning the match with like a top rope elbow splash or something like that. A very tame strap match, especially in comparison to Danielson and Starks, which was a couple of weeks ago. Very, very tame. But then they took it to the next level after the match. Dijak attacked Eddie Thorpe from behind, tied him in the tree of woe, tied him to the whipping post, tied to the whipping post, tied to the whipping post. And he starts beating him in front of his family again, and then he threw the whip at the little girl. Dijak, okay, I'm gonna give you some points for that one. He threw the whip at obviously didn't hit the little girl. It hit the plane, the glass, but he of course tried to act like he was throwing it at her to upset her further, which was good. That was very good. So the last thing we got here, I guess, is the Brian Pillman Jr. vignette. So they sat down, they had this vignette in which the Cincinnati Bengals was on screen, and then WCW Saturday Nights was on screen, and it was a mysterious video. Who could it be? And I was like, Brian Pillman played for the Cincinnati Bengals, and he wrestled in WCW Saturday Night. So, is it Brian Pillman Jr.? Is that who it is? So, immediately people started getting in their feelings. I started seeing a lot of negativity about it. I don't know why people dislike this guy so much. I mean, he's got an anti-cult following. I mean, he's got people who tweet about him all the time, but they don't like him. It's just, they don't like him, and I have never seen anybody give a good reason why he's not, a person worth a damn or anything. It's one thing if you don't like him as a wrestler, which is, people don't like people as wrestlers. I mean, it is what it is. But folks who don't usually even tweet about NXT or talk about NXT is talking about this. How could that be? The goddamn Lucha Blog is tweeting about it. Like, he just don't watch NXT. He don't even talk about WWE. But he's got the time to tweet negative about Brian Pillman Jr.? That's very bizarre. Very interesting, by the way. So I'm like, whose post toasties did he piss in? What did he do that made you so mad? That everybody is all of a sudden like, he's terrible. He's no good. Why would they sign him? It's like, well, look. Wait, Lucha Blog's comment was the one that jumped out at me because he said, well, you like Brian Pillman, well, this is his son. It didn't work the first time. It wouldn't work. It's not going to work this time either. And my thing is, Brian Pillman died in 1997. Unless you're over the age of 50, you're probably not emotionally attached to Brian Pillman, right? You know who he is. Maybe you've gone back in the network and you've watched a match or two. Maybe you watched The Dark Side of the Ring. Maybe you read the book, depending on how big a fan you are. More than likely, if you know who Brian Pillman is, it's probably because Dark Side of the Ring or you've been watching these WWE documentaries. 9 times out of 10, a lot of people don't know who Brian Pillman is. And it's not like being Ric Flair's daughter or being The Rock's daughter. It's not the same thing. It's not nearly the same thing. But it's pretty much a way of introducing him. Being Rick Steiner's son is not the same thing, But if you'd have told me, and I'm pretty sure somebody did, in 2001, 2002, that WWE signed Bob Orton's son, I'd have been like, the fuck is Bob Orton? I don't care about Bob Orton. He was on TV in 1983 when I was a kid. I wasn't even born yet. So like 85 or 86 or something like that, I'd have been 2. If he wasn't wrestling Avatar or Portuguese Man of War in 94 or something like that, I don't know who the hell he was. So I feel a lot of people are the same way. Now you have the internet now, so a lot more people are going to Google who Brian Pillman is. But people are not emotionally attached to Brian Pillman. It's not going to be a situation where he's going to be able to cash in on this name. Because there's not a lot of people who are going to have that same relationship to the name Brian Pillman. As opposed to being The Rock's daughter, or being Ric Flair's daughter, or being Bret the Hitman Hart's niece. There's levels to this thing. So, but I am interested in how they're going to go directly to his lineage as opposed to what they usually do, which is avoid it. Usually NXT tries to avoid, you're the son or daughter of a wrestler. Like, it took them months before they started mentioning on screen that Von Wagner's dad was one of the Beverly brothers. It took them forever to mention that on TV. It took them a couple of months to mention that Rick Steiner was Brian Breaker's dad on television. But when it comes to Brian Pillman, they're going right to it. So it means they probably have a certain level of story they want to tell about this. And I'm not looking at it in terms of he's trying to cash in on his dad's name, because what kind of name does Brian Pillman have in 2023? He's been dead for over 25 years. So you're not, it's not the same. I know people think that, they think of the oldest possible wrestling fan, but the vast majority of the WWE audience have no earthly idea who Brian Pillman is outside of stories that they've heard. They didn't grow up watching WCW Saturday Night. They don't remember him wrestling Jushin Thunder Liger. Maybe they'll watch some stuff online. Maybe they'll watch Dark Side of the Ring. But there is no emotional attachment to it. He's been dead for 25 years, man. There's not much you can glean from this. So it's not like they're cashing in off of his dad being dead. And even if they were, plenty of wrestlers do that. They come in and, my dad was second generation, I'm second generation or whatever. So I'm cool with it. I say this all the time, and I said this when it was reported that he had been signed. If he has anything at all in him, WWE will bring it out. They love their second generation wrestler. They will give him the time. They will give him the resources. If he has anything, they're going to bring it out. And maybe he's just a low mid-card guy. Maybe he's just a tag team wrestler. We don't know. AEW is not the best place to maximize your potential. Only if you're like 3 people do you keep getting opportunities in AEW. Most people get a shot. If they fail or they move a little too slow, that's it. You get replaced by some 40-year-old indie wrestler or, some newly signed WWE reject. And that's about it. That's not the place where you take your time and develop. You get a year or 2 in front of people consistently in storylines and develop. That's not what they did. They just threw him out there, gave him a silly gimmick, threw him out there in front of the crowd. He got to wrestle a couple of matches. He got to wrestle a couple of big matches too. He got to wrestle MJF in his hometown, but that means he just had to stand there while MJF called his mama a crack whore and all this kind of stuff. And no response. And then go out there and lose the match clean in embarrassing fashion by submission or whatever. He wasn't protected. It was clear MJF was the guy they were focusing on, not Brian Pillman Jr. They didn't care about Brian Pillman Jr. And guess what? Maybe in WWE they won't give a fuck about him either. But he's got a second chance. He's got a second wind, and I'm willing to give him that shot. Give him a break, cut the guy some slack. I don't understand, unless he fucked your mom or your sister or something like that and didn't pay them afterwards, give a guy a break, I can't think, unless he's a pedophile or a rapist or something like that, then, let's run him out of here with, torches and pitchforks. Other than that, cut the guy some goddamn slack. What's going on here? So, anyway, that's NXT. Very good show, as usual, especially for a go-home show. It's probably one of the better go-home shows. And I think they needed to rebook it with Mustafa Ali being fired. And that ended up helping the show because now you have to build for Trick Williams. And it's been glorious. So let's get into this No Mercy predictions while we're here. NXT No Mercy is set for Saturday, September the 30th out of the Mechanics Bank Arena in Bakersfield, California. Oh my goodness. This is interesting. This will be the first premium live event not owned and controlled by the McMahon family. I don't think it's going to be much different. But it is a fact that this is going to be the first pay-per-view event under TKO Group Holdings. But just still WWE. So let's not get too excited about this TKO Group Holdings thing. I don't understand why people act like Ari Emanuel is going to start making decisions. He's already said he's not. So it's not like he's going to decide who NXT champion is. Anyway, match 1, Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match for the NXT Tag Team Championships. Tony D'Angelo and Stax versus OTM, otherwise known as Out the Mud, aka Lucien Price and Bronco Nima, versus the Creed Brothers versus Los Lotharios. They're still called Los Lotharios. They have not changed their name yet, but they're clearly dropping the Los Lotharios gimmick. But it's Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza. This one's tough because I'm okay with the Creed Brothers winning. I'm okay with any of these teams winning, if we're being honest. Maybe not OTM because they're so new. I probably wouldn't put the belts on them so soon. So of the 4 teams, they're probably the least likely to win, I think. I think with all of the effort that you put in with Humberto and Angel, that you kind of have to go with them. I mean, you did all these weeks of vignettes, and then you don't pull the trigger. But at the same time, you do have a little something, momentum going with the Creed Brothers too. So I'm looking at, in my predictions, I'm looking at a title switch. I'm on the fence about whether it should be the Creeds or whether it should be the Garzas. I'm going to go with the Garzas because I always like these guys. I've been a big fan of these guys for a long time. I'm going to go with the Garzas. Just personal bias. I think that, doing all the weeks of vignettes and this being, something where they want to honor their grandfather, let's go with that. All right, let's just go with the Garzas or Los Lotharios. Match 2, Dirty Dominic Mysterio versus Trick Williams for the North American Championship with Dragon Lee as a special guest referee. So there's going to be some Judgment Day involvement in this, clearly, right? Probably, maybe Damian Priest is going to try to cave in Dragon Lee's head or something like that. I'm interested in this because it makes sense to put the belt on Trick Williams. It makes sense. If you want to make Trick Williams, now is the time. You cash in on all of the positivity that's behind him right now. You make it a moment in front of this crowd. It could be something. At the same time, though, if you're going to turn him heel against Carmelo Hayes, then he should lose this match and then, of course, get jealous. But then the opportunity arises that Trick Williams could be the babyface and Carmelo Hayes could be the heel, in which Trick Williams could win his match, but Carmelo Hayes loses his. So you're looking at that situation. Yes, it could be a Benoit Guerrero. They're buddies at the end of the world, both holding titles and all that kind of stuff. And that could be a hell of a moment. But I think for storyline purposes, one of them has to lose and be jealous of the other one. And since they're both kind of sniping shots at each other, it's a possible in either direction. With Dragon Lee being the referee, this kind of leads to maybe him screwing Dominic out of the title. But also I can see them taking Dragon Lee out, him getting jumped by Judgment Day or something like that. So I'm gonna say Trick Williams is gonna win, even though I'm pretty sure he's not. So I'm just gonna draw a line through that. Dominic Mysterio is going to win, and maybe it's going to be a situation in which Trick Williams is going to have a complaint, and he's probably going to get a rematch or something like that. So I'm going to go with Dirty Dominic Mysterio is going to win the match. Match 3, Brian Breaker versus Baron Corbin. They probably need to put some kind of stipulation on this match. Like it needs to be like hardcore match, last man standing or something. Something to make this interesting. Technically right now it's a heel versus heel program, which is not necessarily a winner in my eyes because I don't like Baron Corbin. I mean, what ships exactly are we burning? Are these ships important to our defense? Like if we burn these ships, it's like the Russians going to get us or something. Why are we burning ships? In any event, Baron Corbin sucks. I will never pick Baron Corbin. I hope that Braun Breaker kicks Baron Corbin's ass off the planet. I hope he boots him in the ass so hard that he shines above the city of Detroit as he flies off into the fucking stratosphere. Fuck Baron Corbin. Next, British Rounds match, or the AKA the Heritage Cup. Noam Dar versus Butch. They done snuck Butch on this card. I can't stand it. The Heritage Cup. Oh God. Oh God. All right. This match should go on first. Put this match on first. I wouldn't be surprised, knowing how much Triple H likes Butch, that he probably will win. He shouldn't, because he's incredibly boring. I mean, he's been on NXT a month, and I think he's probably said one promo. I'm the baddest man in NXT. I miss those days, because at least he talked. Now he just shows up and works matches. It's terrible. Noam Dar is fun, but he's goofy. He was just dressed like, Steve Irwin 2 weeks ago, riding an inflatable elephant. He was dressed like somebody from the Matrix last week. I don't know what's going on with Noam Dar and the metaphor. I have no idea. And I think that's going to be the difference maker, is the metaphor is going to be out there. I mean, is Ridge Holland going to come out there and help when it comes to Butch? I don't know. I'm on the fence on this one. I'm going to say Noam Dar is going to win. All right, I'm going to go ahead with Noam Dar. I'm going to hope that Butch is not going to hang around NXT much longer. Butch, Jesus Christ, not good. Not good. Next, Extreme Rules match for the NXT Women's Championship. Becky Lynch versus Tiffany Stratton. Well, clearly Becky Lynch is going to win this match. Tiffany Stratton's not going to be harmed by losing, so we're going to go with Becky Lynch winning. This is about sharing the spotlight with Tiffany Stratton, giving her some experience in hardcore matches, which she doesn't have a lot of experience in those. And this match ought to be really good. It ought to be really good if they don't bog it down with garbage. If they don't start playing Build-A-Bear, put this table over here, and then try to be Sabu and jump off this through this, or I want to power slam you through this table. If they keep it simple and yet use weapons sparingly, this could be really good. I really, really, really enjoyed their singles match. I wish they would have just did the singles match and then added like a extra work rate element to it, like best 2 out of 3 falls or something like that, rather than doing an Extreme Rules match, but whatever. Becky Lynch is going to win. Tiffany Stratton is probably going to get called up soon. On second thought, with all the hubbub around Jade Cargill, she's probably not going to get called up anytime soon. So she's going to share the spotlight with Becky Lynch, and in a losing effort. That's fine with me. I'm cool with that. Depending on how they do it, it could end up being for the best. Main event of the evening. Ilya Dragunov challenges Carmelo Hayes for the NXT Championship. It's a regular singles match. I am interested. Just like the NXT North American title match, these two matches are linked. If Trick loses and Carmelo Hayes wins, then that is an incentive for Trick Williams to turn on Carmelo Hayes out of jealousy. The same is if Melo loses and Trick wins, then Melo could turn on Trick. I don't think they're both going to lose, and I'm pretty sure they're not both going to win. So this is an interesting situation. I do believe that if Ilya Dragunov is going to be the NXT champion, now is the time. I know that he has gone on interviews and said that if he was given a choice, he would rather be on SmackDown. But he likes staying in NXT. He likes focusing and being on NXT. But there's people he wants to wrestle. And of course, he wants to wrestle Gunther at WrestleMania. And he can't do that from NXT. So I can tell you this. He's not quite going full, I want to stay in NXT my whole career, which of course pissed me off before about these guys. He's just enjoying his run and not thinking too much about the future. in terms of that far ahead. But he has dreams and aspirations, which is good. I'm glad he does, because it seemed like NXT 2-3 years ago, there were guys who wasn't even thinking about anything else outside of, I just like to stay in NXT and play with my friends. And that was pissing me off. Like, I couldn't stand it, because it reflected in the product that they weren't hungry and they was out there making a fool out of everybody. But now, Dragunov seems like he actually has some real ambitions, that he actually wants to do more than just be in NXT. And I like that. But at the same time, I don't see him going up to the main roster anytime soon. So I'm thinking to myself, if I follow the storyline is the only reason Carmelo Hayes won last time was because of Trick Williams. Trick Williams inadvertently getting involved. He will not be there this time. So that means it's going to be mano a mano. And mano a mano, Dragunov wins. So I'm going to go with Dragunov. And I do believe that it's going to put Carmelo Hayes in the awkward position of having to be the hype man for Trick Williams. And that's going to lead to the heel turn. And instead of Trick Williams being the heel, it's going to be Carmelo Hayes. And I'm very interested in that. I'm very interested in that. That could be fun. I know we all expected Trick Williams to be the heel, but I think he's gotten over far more as a babyface than I would have imagined. I'm going to go with Trick Williams wins his match. Carmelo Hayes loses his match. Even though I picked Dominic Mysterio before. So let's put it like this. If Trick Williams wins the title, I expect Carmelo Hayes to lose. If Trick Williams loses his match, I expect Carmelo Hayes to win. Because one of them has to turn on the other one. And the one who turns on the other one has to be because he is successful and the other one isn't. So that's how I'm going to go with this. But in my heart of hearts, I just want to pick Dragunov right out front because he's great. And I think he definitely is going to end up being NXT champion. So this is going to be a very good show. I'm interested in how many tickets they sold. So give me 1 second. I'll go check that. All right. So according to WrestleTix, NXT No Mercy, tickets distributed 4,194. Available tickets 908. So the setup is for 5,000 seats. They've sold 4,000 seats, almost 4,200. So that's not too bad. I don't know how big the building is. Like, what is the capacity of the building? But if they're going to have it set up for 5,000 and they're going to sell 90% of the building, that's pretty good. Hopefully it's not empty in there. Hopefully it's not dark. But it seems like they're going to do pretty good business here. So NXT is doing well. It's still less than 10,000 seats, which I know is the NXT Black and Gold audience was like, well, we were doing 20,000 seat arenas back in 2009. Yes, you were, because you had like every indie wrestler on earth in that damn show. But now it's not. Now it's not. It's a lot of trainees and rookies and stuff. And then there's Becky Lynch, who's just kind of like, how you do, fellow kids? But I can see that they put her on this show basically to boost ticket sales. I mean, I guess. If I'm pretty sure if there was a breakdown, that they probably sold more tickets when Becky Lynch won. And, it was enough she was going to be on the show. They probably moved tickets a little bit more. Despite the fact that, a lot of people don't like Becky Lynch. I think it's pretty obvious that she is a TV and pay-per-view draw. So people are definitely going to watch this match just to see Becky Lynch on it. And that ought to be fine for the storylines that they want to tell and the people that they want to showcase. I just wish they did a little bit more, especially when it comes to Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin. That's not the match to really showcase Braun Breaker and who he is and what he can do. And I think it's, quite frankly, disrespectful. Quite frankly, it's very disrespectful for him to be wrestling Baron Corbin on the big show. The first show that TKO Group Holdings is putting on. You put Braun Breaker with Baron Corbin. It's very disrespectful. All right. Thank you guys for your time. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Always be sure to like. Always be sure to make sure you're still subscribed. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.